Learn English through story, The Balance of Truth. In the year 1866, in a small town nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, there lived a prominent lawyer named Edward Hale, renowned for his sharp intellect and unwavering commitment to justice. Edward was respected in his community. His wife, Clara, was the light of his life, embodying compassion and understanding. Together, they shared a modest but happy home, often entertaining friends and neighbors with laughter and warmth. One crisp autumn day, a new case landed on Edward's desk. It was a wrongful accusation against a local farmer, Jacob Miller, who had been charged with theft. Jacob was a kind-hearted man, known for his dedication to his family and his hard work. The townspeople were divided. Some believed in Jacob's innocence, while others were convinced of his guilt. Edward felt a stirring in his conscience as he reviewed the case. He knew that the truth was often buried beneath layers of bias and prejudice. "Edward, are you going to take the case?" Clara asked as she joined him at the dining table, her brow furrowed with concern. "I believe I must," he replied, leaning back in his chair. "If I don't, who will defend him? The evidence is shaky at best." "But you know how the town feels about Jacob," Clara cautioned. "They might not look kindly on you for taking his side." "That is a risk I am willing to take," Edward said firmly. "Justice is not about popularity, it's about truth." As the trial date approached, Edward dedicated himself to uncovering every detail of the case. He spent long nights poring over documents, interviewing witnesses, and gathering evidence. Claire supported him tirelessly, providing encouragement and love, but she also sensed the toll the case was taking on him. Edward became increasingly consumed by his quest for justice, often losing sight of the balance between work and family. On the day of the trial, the courtroom was packed. Edward stood before the judge, the weight of the townspeople's expectations pressing down on him. He presented the evidence, carefully dismantling the prosecution's case and highlighting inconsistencies in witness testimonies. As he spoke, he could see some of the townsfolk beginning to waver in their opinions. After hours of testimony, Edward made a powerful closing argument. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, justice is not merely a matter of opinion, it is an unwavering commitment to the truth. Jacob Miller is not just a name on a case file, he is a man, a father, a member of our community. We cannot allow fear and rumor to overshadow the evidence. I urge you to look beyond the accusations and find the truth." After deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict of not guilty. A wave of relief washed over Edward as he witnessed Jacob's tearful gratitude. But as the applause erupted in the courtroom, Edward felt an unexpected pang of unease. He had won the case, but at what cost? The town's divide had only deepened, and he feared the long-term consequences of his actions. In the following weeks, Edward's life became increasingly complicated. While many praised his commitment to justice, others ostracized him, branding him a defender of the guilty. Gossip spread like wildfire, and even some of his closest friends began to distance themselves. Clara, always his steadfast supporter, noticed the change in Edward. He was becoming withdrawn, burdened by the weight of the town's judgment. One evening, after a particularly tense day, Clara confronted him. "Edward, this case has taken a toll on you. You're losing yourself in this battle." "I'm fighting for what's right, Clara," he replied, frustration seeping into his voice. "I can't back down just because it's unpopular." "I understand that, but there has to be a balance," she pleaded. "Your integrity is important, but so is your well-being and our relationship." Edward sighed, feeling the truth in her words but unwilling to let go of his fight. "I can't ignore the injustice. If I do, who will stand up for the voiceless?" As weeks turned into months, the case faded from the headlines, but the scars remained. Jacob resumed his life, grateful for his freedom, but he carried the burden of suspicion. The townspeople's opinions remained divided, and Edward's standing in the community had been irrevocably altered. One day, as Edward walked through the market, he overheard a group of men discussing the case. "Hale thinks he's a hero for saving the thief," one man scoffed. "He doesn't care about the rest of us." Edward felt the sting of their words, but instead of confronting them, he walked away, contemplating the nature of truth and justice. Was he truly a hero, or merely a man lost in his own righteousness? That evening, Edward and Clara sat together in silence. The weight of their unspoken thoughts hung heavily in the air. Finally, Clara broke the silence. "Have you thought about what you want to do next, Edward?" "I want to continue fighting for justice," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Justice is important, but so is healing," Clara replied softly. "Perhaps it's time to reflect on what that means for us." In the following days, Edward began to take stock of his life. He realized that his relentless pursuit of justice had caused him to neglect the very people he sought to protect. He began to reach out to those he had alienated, listening to their concerns and fears. It was a humbling process, but he learned that true justice also involved understanding the complexities of human nature. Months later, the town faced a new challenge. A series of thefts had shaken the community. This time, Edward felt a different sense of urgency. He knew that addressing the root causes of crime would require more than just legal action. It would demand compassion, dialogue, and community engagement. "Clara, I want to help," he said one evening, a newfound determination in his voice. "But this time, I want to do it differently." Clara smiled, her eyes sparkling with pride. "What do you have in mind?" Edward proposed organizing a town hall meeting, inviting everyone to share their perspectives on the thefts and to discuss potential solutions. He knew it would be risky, but he believed that fostering open communication could bridge the divide that had grown in the community. When the day of the meeting arrived, the town hall was filled with familiar faces, as some filled with anger, others with confusion. Edward stood before them, feeling a mixture of anxiety and hope. "Thank you for coming," he began. "I know tensions are high, but we're all here for the same reason, to protect our community." He listened as people voiced their fears and frustrations, each story shedding light on the struggles they faced. Some spoke of job losses, while others revealed the pressure of supporting families. As the discussion unfolded, Edward encouraged collaboration and empathy, urging the townsfolk to work together to find solutions. After hours of dialogue, the atmosphere shifted. People who had once been adversaries began to connect, sharing ideas for community initiatives to address the root causes of the thefts. Edward felt a profound sense of hope as he witnessed the community coming together. In the weeks that followed, initiatives sprang to life via a community garden, job training programs, and support for struggling families. Edward played a pivotal role in these efforts, using his skills as a lawyer to navigate legal hurdles and ensure the success of the projects. Through this process, he learned that justice was not merely about winning cases in the courtroom but about fostering a sense of belonging and understanding. He had found the balance he had been searching for, integrating his commitment to justice with compassion and empathy. As time passed, the town began to heal, the thefts diminished, and a renewed sense of community emerged. Edward's reputation transformed from that of a controversial lawyer to a champion of unity. People began to see him not just as a defender of the accused but as a facilitator of positive change. One evening, as Edward and Claire sat together on their porch, watching the sunset, Edward reflected on their journey. "I've learned so much through all of this," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "Justice isn't about being right, it's about understanding, healing, and coming together." Claire smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "You found your way back to what truly matters, Edward. It's never too late to embrace compassion alongside your convictions." With renewed purpose, Edward continued to engage with the community, advocating for fairness and understanding. He took on cases not only to defend the innocent but also to educate the community about the legal system and their rights. He organized workshops, empowering people with knowledge that had once felt out of reach. Years later, as Edward stood before a group of eager faces at a community event, he felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. The room buzzed with enthusiasm as people shared stories of growth and change. He realized that the seeds of understanding they had planted had taken root, blossoming into a resilient community. As he concluded his speech, he felt the warmth of Clara's hand on his back. "Together, we can create a future built on understanding and compassion," he said, his voice steady and strong. And in that moment, Edward understood that the journey toward justice was not a solitary one, it was a collective effort, rooted in the shared humanity of every individual in the town. The balance of truth and empathy had become the cornerstone of his life's work, guiding him forward. In the years to come, Edward and Claire continued to nurture their community, ensuring that the lessons learned would resonate for generations. Their legacy became one of hope, illustrating that true justice lies not only in the courts but in the hearts and minds of the people, united in their commitment to understanding and compassion. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.